Hockey is back, and so are we. We have some qualifiers to preview and some words to say. Let's do this, people. Good evening, everyone. It is just July 31st, 2020. July 31st. We never thought we'd actually say there's hockey to be played in the end of July, beginning of August. But that's how it is, and these are different times. And this one is a special edition of Teal Town After Dark. No, that comes later. Teal Town Live on the Qualifier Preview Show. You know how to do it. If you want to be a part of the show, join us in the chat on the YouTube page or on the app if you're watching us on the mobile phone. And, of course, follow us on the social, whether it's Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, SoundCloud, Reddit, and, of course, our Discord channel afterwards, all at Tealtown USA. And, of course, for more Sharks content, hit us up at tealtownusa.com. It's great to be back with you, Puck Guy and Mr. Ian Reid, the angry Canadian robot. How are you, good sir?
I'm good. I mean, it's funny because when all this talk about like coming back and stuff, and it was like during like the end of the season and everything, and I'm like, who the hell's gonna watch hockey and the end of July, August? And you know what? I think I've missed one game of just like the stupid, exhibition game. So apparently, I'm gonna watch hockey in August. Here I am.
Right? Not that we have so much to do, but it's great to have the NHL back. It seems like the bubble is looking pretty good, and things are going well. At least so far, it's not baseball. Yikes.
Yeah, I mean, baseball. I'm surprised baseball decided to continue the way they were, and I don't really want to get too into this sport versus that sport, but I mean, so far, there was people obviously had concerns over what would happen in the bubble, but so far so good. No tests, no positive tests. So hopefully it stays that way. Hopefully they can keep things at bay. I feel like even though they're probably playing games in two regions that are seeing a little bit of a spike in the virus, but so far the bubble seems to be working, so hopefully it continues to work.
Yeah, and in Ontario and in Alberta, you mentioned before we went on the air, there is a little bit of an increase, but
yeah, it's funny, right? Because you have to. It's hard because you really have to try and keep some perspective, right? Compared to what you guys have going on in some regions down there. I mean, it's these numbers that I think are high. They're nothing compared to some of the numbers I know you guys are seeing. I mean, personally up here, and it's something that I have to keep perspective of too, because I'm like, well, this is, I sometimes get angry because it's like we've had, I think, 27 cases in my area, and maybe 3 at a time for the most part. So when they decided just a month ago, they decided, oh, now it's time to wear masks. And I'm like, this is wearing a condom to the baby shower. But I mean, it's hard, right? I don't want to be too grumpy, because I understand that there are people in areas that obviously are far more effective than I am. And it might come off as callous coming from my situation, right? Where, I'm not seeing, we haven't had the massive outbreaks that, the thousands of people getting it at any given time. I mean, so it's, you try and keep your perspective, and you try to, not, you got to speak to your own experience, but you got to be respectful of other people's experiences too. And I think that's what I've tried to do. I've tried to be pretty much radio silent on this in social media, and, because some people have it a lot worse than I do, and I don't really want to fight with people, surprisingly.
Right? You are the angry Canadian robot, after all. But yeah,
I like arguing about hockey. I don't like arguing about how people should stay safe and other things.
But please,
it's just that's the way.
Please, we do not want anybody to catch this So be safe out there for sure. But glad you're okay in Ontario and Alberta. But Tuesday we saw a little bit of what was going on, and my goodness me, that was an interesting sight, to say the least. Even for that matter, a pretty sight to say. It seems like it's right out of NHL threes in the EA Sports games.
Yeah, I like the setup. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I like the tarped off seats because I think like you could have empty seats. Like, look, we know there's nobody in the arena, and obviously like they're trying to pipe in sound and everything. But I like the tarps because even though it's like, yes, there's nobody in the arena, you get to I don't know. Like, I know there's no one there, but it's not like watching a Florida Panthers game.
Right. Yeah.
And that's a good thing.
That.
It's playoff hockey. You don't want it to look like a Florida Panthers game.
No, yeah, no, we do not want that. And we have some comments in the chat already. Skylar saying you're not the only one that wants to watch hockey in August, Ian. You get that right. Zach saying, hey, Zach, good to see you. Thanks for joining us. Barclay Goodrow was at BMO Field today. It's
I mean, like, the setup looks good. I think they've made the best of a bad situation. There's this one camera angle that they're using that I'm not a super fan of, and hopefully they'll knock that off a little bit more. But like, there's this high corner camera that it's going to be interesting, right? Because the thing with the way the arena is set up is you want to obviously try and innovate and do some cool things, but you don't want to do anything so cool that people are going to be like, oh, we can't do that once there's people in the stands again, right? So it's like a very catch-22 situation.
Yeah, it's one of those where it's like, oh, this looks awesome. You can't use it once we get back to things. So.
Yeah, and that's going to be, I think that's going to be the tricky balancing act for them to try and figure out.
Yeah, and that'll be interesting to see what they try to do once everything gets back. And hey, or we'll touch on this a little bit later, but is this things to come if things keep getting rough down here in the States for hockey come December 1st? But
I don't want to think about it.
Yeah, I don't want to.
That's a bridge that we can cross down the road. Like, I think that's the one thing, and I understand it too, right? Like, I understand, like, people do want to kind of look forward, and I think, but man, there's just some things where it's like, let's just cross that bridge when we get there instead of worrying about it now. I mean, right now we've got hockey to watch. It's going to be interesting. Zach in the chat says something, as much as he can't stand Bettman, he's doing this smartly. You know what? Bettman deserves a lot of credit because not only did he get this thing off the ground, but he secured labor peace for another, few years, which is a first for the NHL.
Right.
I mean, there's, and look at it. We're a week into this thing. I mean, obviously, I don't want to put this, evil in the air, but let's let this thing kind of run its course a little bit before we pat him on the back too hard, because we still haven't, like I said, we're a week into this, so let's make sure that things stay the way they're running. I mean, they're off to a great start, but let's not get too far ahead of ourselves at the same time too. Let's not pat Gary on the back too hard. Let's see if we can get through this safely and properly.
Right. So let's enjoy what we have. It's going to be interesting to see how it goes, but it looks great so far. So with that, you ready to dive into the bubble?
Yeah. Let's get this show on the road.
Alrighty. So we will begin in the East, where they will have 4 series, the teams 5 through 12. If you're not familiar or just now trying to figure out what the NHL is going to be doing, the Eastern and the Western qualifiers, so the seeds 5 through 12, the top 12 teams made the playoffs. Unfortunately, San Jose is not in there, in case you forgot. The top 4 seeds will play in a round robin, but the bottom from 5 to 12, they will play a best of 5. It'll be a playoff overtime. You have the teams as you see on the screen there. When we're about to dive into that, we'll begin with the one that seems to be, it's either going to be going best of 5 or supposedly will be done in 2, from what I've heard. Pittsburgh, the number 5 seed, and the Montreal Canadiens at number 12. What says you on this series, Ian?
Yeah, I mean, spoiler alert, Pittsburgh in three. Look at I look Montreal, and then you're gonna see like Montreal and Chicago on the west side when we get there. Like these are the two teams though that you have to be very careful with because these are the teams that have nothing to lose. Like they're completely playing with house money.
Right.
So a team like Montreal, they're in a good position because if they lose, well, I mean, if they lose, they're gonna have the good percentage for that number one pick because of the draft lottery fiasco. And if they win, well, I mean, shit, not supposed to even be there. Um, but look I mean, the Penguins, they're a better team, full stop, top to bottom. Maybe not. You know what? Yeah, Pittsburgh, okay, maybe the Canadians have the edge in goal because I'm not as high, especially on Matt Murray. Matt Murray's really struggled. Tristan Jarry's done pretty good. But I would still between Jarry and Price, I would give the edge to Carey Price, but I don't think that's going to be enough. Pittsburgh's going to fill the net with goals. Their defense is better. Their special teams significantly better than Montreal's. Like I just don't think Montreal has a fighting chance here. I think it's going to be a quick series, and yeah, I think Pittsburgh is moving on without much hassle.
Yeah, it's one of those ones where it's like if Carey Price gets hot, then okay, they got a chance. But offensively, I mean, yes, they have Drew Ryan, they have Max Domi, among others. I just can't see them getting just jumping over Pittsburgh. I mean, yes, if Carey Price can steal a couple of games, they're in it. But man, Pittsburgh's got a lot of firepower, including Jake Gensel getting back into play, which probably wouldn't have happened if COVID didn't happen. So
Yeah,
but
yeah. I mean, Carey Price might steal a game here, but here's the problem: like Montreal, you still like you can have good goaltending, but you still have to score goals. And I don't know where Montreal's going to manufacture their goals. They're not a great. They throw a lot of shots on the net, 5-on-5. Like they throw more pucks on the net than probably any other team in the league. But their power play, porous. Their penalty kill, porous. Like I just don't understand why. I just don't understand how Montreal's supposed to like Carey Price can stop pucks, but he's not going to put them in the net either.
Yeah.
So you have to score goals. You have to get goals from somewhere. And I just like Montreal throws a lot of pucks at the net, but a lot of their shots are very pedestrian, not high danger. A lot of perimeter shots, and it's not a recipe for success.
And they got rid of a lot of pieces at the deadline, thinking they weren't going to make it. So I can't see that happening. That being said, we forgot to mention one important piece that Pittsburgh has: Patrick Marleau. Patty has played 191 playoff games, the most of anyone who hasn't hoisted the cup. Of course, DW's kind of hoping on this one because that pick that they got from Pittsburgh will upgrade if Patty does hoist the cup. So we'll see on that one. But yeah, I'm agreeing with Ian here. It will go Pittsburgh in 3, if not 2. That's our.
Oh, AJ's bragging on my hat. I got like this and another hat for like super cheap, and I needed a new hat, so here we are.
All right. Well, moving onward. There, we'll get rid of that one then. Moving onward to the battle of Brady Shea. Brady Shea's old team, the Rangers, takes on his current team, the Carolina Hurricanes. 6 versus 11. Again, you can go through a number of ways to talk about this, Ian, but this one I think is actually one of the interesting matchups in the qualifying round.
This is a pick'em in my opinion. Like you would think that it would be, it'd be closer. It would be less close because of the way that these teams are seeded, with, Carolina being the 6th seed and the Rangers being the 11th seed. But I really think this is a pick'em. Love Carolina's goaltending. Both goalies have had some injury issues and rear their ugly heads at really, really bad times with both Peter Mrazek and James Reimer, and I think that's a concern. Right. Is the Hurricanes blue line? I think they're better, but is it going to be completely healthy? not, that kind of remains to be seen. I like Shesterkin, the Rangers goalie. I think he should be the guy that gets the starts. The thing that would concern me for the Rangers is if they decide to go with Henrik Lundqvist, because Henrik Lundqvist is a notoriously slow starter. You look at, some of his starts to past Rangers seasons, and it usually takes him a while to find his rhythm. So if you have to go to Lundqvist early, that makes me very, very concerned for the Rangers at that point. I think that Shesterkin should be their guy. I think that's the problem. I think this is, I really think this is going to go the distance. I mean, these two teams, they both can put pucks in the net. Carolina's the better team defensively. But again, it's like, as long as their goalies are healthy, I think that's going to be the key, right? Can their goalies stay healthy? And, can one of them go on a run? If they do, then I think they'll be okay. Power replay is kind of a wash, and the Carolina has the significantly better penalty kill because they're the better defensive team. I think I have the Rangers in 5 here, but honestly, this is a pick 'em. I think it's one of the more closest series, despite the separation in the standings.
Yeah, the Rangers are an up and coming team with Panarin, who just put him on his back and said, "Let's go." I think the Rangers can steal this one, but I'm with you. I think Carolina, can make their way of it, even though Patrick Tyler making a point saying Dougie is out for game 1, but if the Canes can get healthy past the qualifiers, they can be pretty scary, and I agree. I think they can. But...
And they made some good pickups too. Like the Hurricanes did bring in some depth guys at the deadline to try and kind of shore up that blue line. So it's not like they're going to be completely like exposed, even if they do get a little more banged up on the blue line. Like they should be okay. I think I like the way that the Rangers can fill the net with pucks. They've got some really big weapons on there. The question is can they get through that Carolina defense? And that'll be the key, because I think the goaltending's been good, but the defense has really been what's held Carolina together.
I mean, if you can get a 42-year-old Zamboni driver who works for the Leafs to beat the Leafs, I mean, hey, you never know.
Hey.
But so you're picking who in 5?
I'm picking the Rangers in 5. I think it's going to be an upset.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Carolina in this one. But yeah, it's a toss-up for sure in that sense. For the Carolina Hurricanes and the Rangers, it's going to be quite an interesting one there. We think it's going to go to the distance. What about the other New York squad? The Islanders, the 7th seed against the Florida Panthers, led by Joel Quenneville and former Shark great Mike Hoffman.
Yes. Sergei Bobrovsky's been just terrible this season.
Yikes.
Bobrovsky, but he's a guy who could come on and do something, but he's going to have to earn his paycheck for Florida to have any chance in here. And I don't have faith in that at all. You know what? Greiss and Varlamov aren't going to light the world on fire in the other end, but they play well behind their defense, and their defense is pretty good. The New York Islanders were one of the better teams for fewest goals against. So their defense is good. They play a really, they're not going to light the world on fire with their offense, but I think they play a good grinding defensive game. And I just think it's going to be one of the least fun to watch because of that. The Islanders play just a grinding defensive shutdown game. And then they do take advantage of opportunities they're given. And I like, when you look at these two teams, I like the wins that the Islanders have over the Panthers. I really don't think this is going to be a whole lot of fun to watch, to be completely honest. I just think that, I think they're gonna frustrate the Panthers, and when the only thing that's gonna work in Florida's favor is that when the power play for the Islanders wasn't that good. So I think that their bottom 6, they've got a lot of guys down there that are going to grind you down and make you angry and knock you all over the place. And when you retaliate, you're going to go to the box. And it's the one saving grace of the Panthers is the Islanders haven't really made people pay as much as they probably should have.
Right. They kind of underachieved a little bit in the regular season.
Yeah. So I think Florida might win a game here. I'm taking the Islanders in 4. Like I said, I don't think this is going to be much fun to watch. I think it's going to be pretty quick. I think the Panthers could steal a game here, but I just think the Islanders are significantly better. The margin is much wider than it is between the other teams we just discussed.
Yeah, I'm with you on this. Islanders in 4. Again, another former Shark in this one, Thomas Greiss, as you said, Ian. And of course, Mike Hoffman. I mean, if Huberdeau and Hoffman and company can, beat up Greiss and Varlamov, it could be a potential upset, but I can't see it happening. For sure.
I don't think Florida's going to be able to, like, the Islanders defense, I think, is just going to suffocate those guys. Like, and I do agree, like, Florida has some weapons, but I just don't think they're going to be able to. I think that the Islanders are going to suffocate them and frustrate them and beat them up, and it's just going to suck for them. It's just going to be an unpleasant experience, and they'll be glad to go home.
We got a question from Unloaded Panda. Are they going to have audio of the crowd booing Bettman when he comes out to hand out Lord Stanley?
I hope so. I hope so. I mean, why not, right? Like, do it properly.
Right.
I think it's great.
Yeah. Skylar in the chat saying, Sharks fans, Martin Jones is the worst overpaid starting goaltender in the NHL. Florida sends hold our beers for a second, then give him back.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Bobrovsky's not had a great season. But, I don't know. Bobrovsky's a guy to me, like, he's one of those guys where he kind of reminds me of, like, early Roberto Luongo, where he was just so good for so long on such a crappy team, and he just wasted, like, the prime years of his career. And I just think that's going to be what happens. Like, I worry that's what's gonna have happened with Bobrovsky. He wasted his prime on just crappy teams.
And that's rough to hear. He's got the money. Hopefully, playoffs can give him the momentum that he needs to get over the hump in this one. So that's the Islanders and the Panthers. And maybe now the marquee of sorts matchup in the East. I mean, obviously you're playing on the quote-unquote home ice, if there is even such a home ice advantage in these.
There isn't, though, because, like, even the Leafs have to live in the bubble, right? Like, it's not like you're getting home cooking, and yeah, it's your arena, and, you're going to be a little more familiar with the facilities, but you're still in the bubble. Like, there's not much home ice advantage there. You can't go home and see your family, between games. I don't think, like, I really don't think it's not like the atmosphere in the Scotiabank place is probably going to be very, very familiar to what they're playing in. But,
right.
But I mean, I don't know. I don't feel like they really have an advantage. In fact, I'd be a little bit more annoyed if I'm a Maple Leaf and, my home is just down the Gardner Express and I can't go there.
And that's the tough part, is that, you're so close to home. It's like dangling you. It's like, oh, you're right here. You're right here. Oh, you're right here. And next thing you know, you're either going home. It's like, okay, you can go and go home if you really want to, or just
sure.
Or just go and start the journey and win a playoff round. Wait, are we calling it a playoff round? See, this is where I get a little confused here. Could the Leafs win a series for the first time since 2004? That's kind of what they're up against. The last time they did it, I believe it was Ottawa, if I'm not mistaken, in 2004.
Jeez, I don't even.
I remember they lost to Philly in round 2 because Roenick had scored the overtime winner on that one. But it's been that long for the Leafs. But Leafs and Jackets. Marlowe's kids are on there. Marner and Matthews, San Ramon native Austin Matthews, against yours truly and Hockey Jerk's favorite. Wait, excuse me. There we go. Gustav Nyquist for the Neon Buggers, who looked pretty good in their lone preseason game. Um, what do you think? And for that matter,
Can will beat skill? I mean, that's the question here. Can will beat skill? Because the skill is clearly on the side of the Maple Leafs, in my opinion. They've got the better skilled players. They've got the better high end. But the Blue Jackets, who are another team that are kind of playing with house money.
Right.
They weren't supposed to be this super. They weren't supposed to be where they are. Everyone thought, man, these guys are going to be at the bottom of their division. They're not going to make the playoffs. Like these guys are done. And credit to John Tortorella. He makes them work hard, and that's the thing. Like this team is going to grind you and grind you and grind you down. Really, to me, this series is going to come down to which Freddie Anderson's going to show up.
Right.
Like if the Frederik Anderson that the Leafs know that they can get, like they've gotten some uncharacteristically bad goaltending from him this year. If the break did him good and he comes in and he lights the world on fire, the Leafs are going to roll the Jackets, in my opinion. If Freddie Anderson isn't good though, and his defense isn't fantastic, it's going to be a problem. I think this one's going to go the distance. I think the Leafs are going to win I have the Leafs in 5. I think a lot of people are I think just dunking on the Leafs because it's fun to dunk on the Leafs a little bit. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
It's fun, right? But I look at some of the players and there's been players that have had some really good years on, like right. A really good year on Toronto. Like if Austin Matthews picks up where he left off, he's got the talent. He can break open a game. And that's to me the thing. Like the Leafs have guys that have game breaking talent on their team. The Jackets are going to have to, really gut it out. They're going to have to smother Leafs, which they could do. Yeah. I mean, their defense, like this is a team that, I think only, when the season ended, they had only allowed, I think, 187 goals compared to, the Leafs, which allowed 227. But again, right. Defense wins playoff series, and the Jackets definitely have the advantage in that case. Their penalty kill was really good. And so it's the Leafs. The Leafs could have a hard time here, but they've got guys that could break open a game and put them over the edge. I think the Leafs in 5, but man, this one's going the distance, and it's a pick 'em too. Like I put it up there with the Rangers Hurricanes. Like it's a pick.
I'm completely in agreement with you. I'm gonna try and get some foreseen points out of it. We're gonna kind of kick it back a little TTG style. I'm going to say Game 5 is going to go into overtime. Ooh. I think it'll be Matthews with the overtime winner, but I think it's going to be a tough series. It will hurt the one that has to move on into the first round. But yeah, if you're going to pick, man, I think you got to go with the Leafs in 5. I think this is finally the time they get over the hump for a series. Granted, Columbus has a great, goaltending, tandem with Korpisalo and Merzlikins. Yeah. If one's not working out, they can just go like that to change things up. But again, offensively, if the Leafs can dominate
that's going to be a challenge.
Yeah, it'll be a challenge for the Jackets, but it'll be a big one for the Leafs. And if Toronto's having a tough time with defense, and you talk about Lundqvist being slow. If Anderson gets off to a slow start, then it's going to be interesting to see how quick the hook Sheldon Keefe goes to Jack Campbell on that one. So,
and here's the thing too, right? Like the thing is, like best of 5 series, you don't have a lot of time. Mm-hmm. Like the first game is going to be so important in all of these series. The first game is going to be vital. I mean, every game's obviously vital, but the first game, because for a team like the Leafs that have had their fair share of playoff debacles, like if you can get that doubt in there, if you can put that seed of doubt in there,
right, and
get like that could unravel them very quickly. And with the amount of games and the short amount of time that they have, this is gonna be, it's gonna you can't unravel.
Nope.
You cannot unravel because you will not be able to recover. And that's, I think, the big danger for the Leafs, and it's going to be the big danger for one of the next teams we're going to talk about.
Yeah, it's going to be a big one indeed. You know, I almost feel like Columbus doesn't have the pressure, even though they've only had one playoff win in franchise history. Jerry F. even saying, "How will Torts freak out in a virtual press conference?"
It's going to be amazing.
Oh man,
I can't wait.
They'll be like, "Oh, we're behind the screen. We can go after him now." You know, it'll be great on that one. But yeah, I know, Jerry, you're saying CBJ in 5. I think both of us are in agreement with Toronto. It's gonna be a fun one for sure. So
it's going to be a fun one. Yeah, but I agree though. I think like Columbus, I think there's the pressure on Columbus is significantly less because again, this is a team that's doing way better than they were expected to. So, you know, the pressure is absolutely on Toronto here because if you look at, you know, especially with a flat cap, you're looking at a lot of teams that are in serious trouble now with a lot of money tied up into high-end guys and, you know, and not a lot of, you know, so going forward, I mean, this team has to have success because this team is too hard against the cap to not have success in the playoffs at this point.
And you know that if they go out in round 1 or in the qualifying round, it's just going to be Toronto sports is going to be it's just going to lose it unless the Raptors are going on a crazy run in the NBA. And for that matter, their luck they get Lafreniere.
And that, you know,
and we'll get to that come August 10th. Oh goodness,
we're
gonna have fun with that. So for the top 4 seeds, it is a round robin. For the Bruins, Lightning, Capitals, and Rangers, the top 4 teams will play each team to decide playoff seeding. In case of a tie in points, the tiebreak will be on their points percentage ranking in the regular season. And in these games, these 3 games, there'll be regular season overtime, including a shootout, if need be. So
yeah.
So I don't know why the Rangers
I have
are on there, but
my round robin standings for it being over. I have Boston, Washington, Tampa, Philly. I think the Bruins are the class of the East. They're a veteran team that just they didn't look good in their exhibition game. And I know that I'm probably going to, you know, contradict myself when we get to the West. But I just feel like this is a team that has enough guys that have been there that can turn it on. I don't know. I think that they're going to, in a round robin situation, I think they're going to do really well. I think they're going to be top there. Washington, Tampa, you could flip flop either of those. You know, they're both high end teams. They could both win games. The Flyers, I don't know. I don't love what the Flyers have, especially in games against, you know, one-off game against all those teams. Like the you know, Boston, Washington, Tampa. I think you would take them over the Flyers in any of those games. But one game round robin favors the upset. So maybe they'll surprise us.
And Carter Hart, you know, getting his first playoff action.
Yep.
You know, that'll be one thing to look at in these games. And for these teams, it's like, okay, we can kind of play around a little bit more. Yeah, it does decide the seeding, but, you know, maybe there's some, depending on how
See, I'm interested because I think not to get too far off topic here, but I think like the first round of the playoffs, I think is going to be interesting because you know, these teams that are going in after playing the qualifier. I mean, they've played some serious playoff hockey at this point, right? Like they're gonna have that energy wing because they played the best of 5 against another team where they played the same team, and you know, you get kind of the juices flowing where these guys are gonna play, you know, basically another round of exhibition games. Like obviously there's a little more on the line,
right?
But I wouldn't be surprised if we see some significant round 1 upsets because the teams that had to get through the qualifier are a little bit more into playoff mode than maybe the round robin teams. Now maybe the round robin games will be great and we'll see. And you know, maybe I'll be proved wrong, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's a lot of upsets in round 1 because of the advantage that you know, maybe they're going to come in a little bit healthier, but those guys have already been playing playoff hockey and the other teams are just playing around robin to sort out seeding. So it's going to be interesting to see how those teams react once they get into those best of sevens.
Yeah, it'll be fun and fun to see how it plays out, and wonder if there's even some strategy once some of the qualifying teams are eliminated, for sure. All right, with that, let's head over to the Western Conference, the one that we are usually liking. You got those teams again. The top four will play in the round robin. 5 through 12 will play against each other to advance in again best of 5 series for these teams, and we'll kick it off right now with the hometown Edmonton Oilers taking on the. I wonder if these guys got in here because they're Chicago. I mean, at this point, Ian, shouldn't they have this series out in Commonwealth Stadium? I mean, it's not being used by by the football club, right?
That's true. I mean, I didn't realize that there was outdoor games in the qualifiers. So no, look at Chicago. Here's the thing, right? Like to me is a dangerous team because again, here's an Edmonton team that's going to have a lot of pressure on them to perform because they've had guys give them really good series, right? Like give them good seasons. And this is a team that obviously, again, needs to take that next step and get into the playoffs. Chicago is a dangerous team because I think that, I still think like the Oilers win this series and I think they win it handedly. Chicago is one of those teams where this is a veteran team that has seen, the core of this team, the veterans that lead this team, they've been there, they've done that for everything. Yep. There's nothing that they haven't seen in a playoff series at this point. They've hoisted the cup, they've been down games, they've been up games, whatever. If they can come out and stun the Oilers early, there's potential they could. Now, I can give you also reasons why they won't. Look, at Edmonton can fill the net. I think that, you want to talk about game-breaking talent, Connor David is maybe the best, if not one of the best players in this league, period, who can put a game, like who can win a game on his own.
Right.
Leon Draisaitl has taken that next step. The defense for the defense isn't fantastic for the Oilers. They both allowed a similar amount of goals, but that Edmonton Oilers power play is insane.
Right.
One of the highest power play percentages I think since the 80s. So
the Oilers of the
this
80s.
Is a team. The Oil actually more like the Oilers of the 80s, like the Canadians of the 70s.
Right.
Like that is the stupid power play numbers that this team has put up. Corey Crawford's obviously going to be the key for the Hawks to have any success. If he, again, here's another guy you want to talk about health. Corey Crawford has had nothing but health issues, and if he can't stay healthy this season, series is over. Because I'm sorry, Malcolm Subban isn't beating the Oilers. Like Robin Leonard's gone. So, right. If Corey Crawford goes down, they are screwed and this series is over. You might as well, pack it up and send them home. I mean, I can see how the Hawks could upset the Oilers. I just think they don't have a snowball's chance in hell. I think I can see it and I could make an argument for the upset, but I really think that this is going to be over. It's probably over quick. I have the Oilers in 4 because I do think that the veterans can on Chicago. They've been there, they've done that. They can probably get a game, and they put a little bit of doubt into the Oilers' minds, but I just can't see the Oilers going out like this would be one of the biggest upsets in sports history, in my opinion, because the Hawks are not a great team. I mean, they have some good offensive tools. Their defense is porous, and their goaltending isn't good if it's broken. And the problem with Corey Crawford is he has a hard time not being broken.
Yeah, and that you make a good point there, Ian. It's all about Corey Crawford being in ready to go and being healthy. If not, then no matter what Kane and Taves and oh my gosh, why can't I think of the rookie's name?
And that Kubalik. Look at the Kubalik, yes. Like the nine, like their top nine is really good. I just don't think they have the. I don't think they have the D. Honestly, I don't think they have the D to contain McDavid and Draisaitl. But if you can shut that line down, then the Oilers will be in trouble.
Yeah,
You know, if you can shut down that top line, then it'll get interesting quick. But I don't think they're going to be able to contain them. And I think that
no.
I don't think it's going to be much of a series.
No, I will say Edmonton in 4. It can go 5 if Crawford steals another game. But again, you have former Shark Ryan Carpenter, former Barracuda, scored the greatest goal of Barracuda history. Ryan Carpenter back there as well. He might get in the game, he may not. But yeah, it's all about health here. I mean, Koskinen, it's his time to shine as a goaltender. If not, Mike Smith has gone in there as well. So
yeah, I don't love Edmonton's goaltending. I should say that I'm not in love with Edmonton's goaltending. I just think they can score their way out of problems.
Yeah, and Arid Zetas 84, Kane, Taves, Kubalik will beat them.
Break it. Yeah, I mean, look. I really think Chicago. I think Chicago is going to be on the upswing sooner than later. I really do. I don't think it's now. I mean, obviously they're going to have some contracts they need to get out from under.
Right.
But there's look at. I mean, like again, like I said, I could make an argument for how Chicago does it. I just don't think that they do it in reality.
So we're kind of in agreement. Oilers in 4 out of 5 in this one. It should be an interesting one for sure. The Oilers, it's not a slam dunk, but they can make it a slam dunk pretty easily. And now to the all Sunbelt series, the one that probably Canada will just be like, I wish they weren't playing this one. It's Nashville, the number 6 seed, taking on Jerks, and let me do this for you, Jerk. My Yotes! And they're breaking out the Kachina jerseys for their quote-unquote considered home games. In this one's tough, and considering everything that's gone on behind the scenes with the Coyotes, yikes. I mean, very tough to consider and make or break for Taylor Hall to be a desert dog still. But what says you between the cats and the dogs fighting it out?
Okay, so I'm gonna upset Jerk here, and I hate it because Jerk's my boy. Look I mean, the Coyotes could really use this series to put the emphasis back on the ice instead of off of it, which it seems to be always more what's going on off the ice with the Coyotes than on the ice. And I think that's really unfortunate. And I think that, but man, like, this poor team just cannot get a break from on off ice drama, whether it be from, ownership problems or, trying to get an arena or whatever. I really like Nashville in this series. I think Nashville's going to win in 4. Look the Coyotes have a ton of weapons on offense, but they still have trouble putting the puck in the net. They have trouble, maintaining, like, again, you don't want to read in too much into the exhibition game, but like that Vegas smothered them for most of that game. They've got weapons, but this is a team that hasn't had a lot of trouble. Like, to put pucks in the net, less than, one of the bottom teams for offense is the Coyotes. Their power play is okay, but it's not great. Considering the weapons they have, it should be much better. Their penalty kill isn't great. I don't think their defense is fantastic. It's better. It's good, but it's not Nashville. Like, Nashville's the better team on defense.
Oh, big time.
I think on offense, neither of them, they both have guys that can be game-breaking talent, but they haven't been for most of the season. I give the edge to the Nashville Predators in goal. I think UC Saros, in the second half of the season was really good. Pecorine, kind of a mixed bag when it comes to playoffs, but UC Saros, again, untested, so maybe he doesn't do as well as we'd like, but I don't know. I look at Nashville's blue line. It's going to be as healthy as it's been all year, and it's loaded.
Right.
Nashville's the better team here. And I think that, yeah, the Coyotes could get a game. Maybe they get two. But I think Nashville's just the better team.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going with you and with Nashville in 4. I think the Coyotes steal a game with Darcy Kemper in net. But Jerry F has it right in the first part. If scoring was by jerseys, Arizona in 3. Absolutely.
I love Kachina. They should go back to Kachina full time. Like, I don't know what their problem is. They're actual sweaters, like the red arms, and yeah, they're just so lame. Go back to Kachina. Kachina's better.
Ian might have a forcing point coming in there. We will wait and see.
Like, look at, and I should say, because I'm seeing, Patrick Tyler in the chat. Yeah, there's something about Nashville that just stinks. Kind of like the Panthers Tampa Bay early season. Yeah, look at, I'm not gonna lie. As good as the defense is on paper, it hasn't been that great for the Predators this year. But I still think it's, I just would I be shocked if Arizona won this series? Not completely. I just think that you look at these teams on paper, Nashville's just the better team. Now, games aren't played on paper, they're played on the ice, so we'll see. But I think that Nashville found their form in the second half of the season. I thought UC Saros had firmly taken over the net, and I think that he is the future there. I mean, obviously, they do have Pekka Rinne, again, mixed bag in the playoffs. It's going to be interesting, but I just think Nashville's the better team.
Yeah, I think overall you have slight edges in every aspect of it, but again, Arizona could shock some people, but I just can't see it right now. So Predators, we both agree, will move on in this series. Meanwhile, oh boy, a classic Northwest Division rivalry, the Minnesota Wild taking on your Vancouver Canucks. All right. The Canucks are the...
If there's a series that I'm looking forward to less than the Islanders series, it's this one.
All right. And with that, good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone. No. I have long been on the record as just, I don't know what the Wild are. They're just there. They're the most there team in the league. They're just there. There's nothing overly special about them. They don't excel at anything. They're not terrible at anything. Right. They just don't excel at anything either. They're just the most there team in the league. They're just there, and you forget about them. I think the Canucks win this in 3.
Wow.
I just think the Canucks, look at Alex Stalock has been really good for them down the stretch. All right. But Dubnyk's been awful this year. The Canucks, they're not the best defensive team, but they can put pucks in the net. And the Minnesota Wild, their defense is good, but their goaltending hasn't been there. There's a reason they were, 10th in the league. Their goaltending hasn't been good enough considering what the defense has given them. And I think a team like Vancouver is just going to fill the net against this team.
I see that, and then I also see the veteran presence of Koivu, Parisi, Eric Stahl,
again,
Zuccarello, and Galchenyuk. I mean, yeah, they're there, but at the same time, yeah, the goal.
I'll take Pettersson, Besser. I'll take, but they've got guys that can. But again, Vancouver again, the Wild have a good team of their team, but the Vancouver Canucks have guys that can break open a game,
right?
Just break it open. Pettersson, Besser, look at the special teams. Again, power play significantly better for Vancouver in the season. The penalty kill, Vancouver did really well there too. Wild, again, considering how good their defense is, their goalies just don't give them saves when they need them, and that is the problem with that team. And I just think against a team with dynamic game breakers like Vancouver, I don't think Vancouver's long for this world in the playoffs this year,
right?
But they're going to make short work of the Wild, in my opinion.
All right, I will go with Vancouver in 4, just because. Yeah, I think there'll be close games, but I just To me, the goaltending matchup in this is a little iffy. Markstrom's playing for a big time contract, and I wonder if
Mhm.
that might get pressurized to him. You have a lot of kids in Vancouver that they're going to get their first experience of playoff hockey, and you're not going to get the you're not going to get the going into enemy waters too much. I think because it's being neutral site,
But do you trust Alex Stalock
and that's
to
but
backstop this team
and
past this Vancouver
and
offense?
that's the thing is that going up against Stalock or Dubnyk, both who have Northern California hockey ties, yeah, it's tough. And we got looking at it, Wild, or what is it? The Mild,
The mild
mediocre.
Minnesota.
I mean, yeah,
Like, I don't like. I just think like they just the undoing for the Wild most of the season is they haven't been able to get a save when they need it most.
and that's what's going to hurt
That's going to be the story.
in short term. And I could see this being the series where we see both goaltenders in.
We could, yeah.
Yeah, you could see
But
Demko if Markstrom
you
goes
lose,
down.
if Stalock goes, if you pull Stalock, you put Dubnyk in. I have no faith. Like Dubnyk this season, I think his save percentage is like 890. Like not good. And Alex
Smells
Stalock
like
is
Mark
910,
Jones.
respectable, but nothing fancy. Like it's a league average save percentage, right?
Yeah. So it remains to be seen. The Canucks have some youngsters that are going to work things out and then get their feet wet in the playoffs, or the veteran Wild will move on and stun some people. And if you think Toronto was bad with their sports media coverage, Vancouver would go nuts if they were to go home earlier than 5 games. So moving on to our final matchup, the all-Canadian matchup, and I think this might be a good one as well. But you tell me, Ian Reid, between Calgary and Winnipeg, the 8 and 9 seeds. In this one, let's hope Johnny the Friendly Ghost comes back to take on Connor Hellebuck, who usually doesn't hella suck.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm less enamored with, the Jets blue line or the Flames forward group. Like I honestly I don't know which one gives me the meh more. Like obviously, like you said, Hellebuck's going to be the X factor here. Hellebuck has done really well despite his defense all year. The numbers aren't lighting the world on fire, but the Jets aren't anywhere without Hellebuck this year. The Flames forward group, they've got guys that are good, but again, it's like I don't feel like I'm past the point of thinking Johnny Gaudreau is going to break open a game at this point. I think like then that's the difference. Like the Jets have forwards that I think can break open a game, and that's and that's going to be the difference. I just it's one of those things, right, where it's like, yeah, you can have defense, but you still got to score goals. And the Flames, I don't think they've addressed their issues enough to be a team that's going to weather the playoff storm and be significant, and you're going to see significant enough output from the Flames forwards, especially against Connor Hellebuck, to put them through. I think the Jets win this in 4. They might win it in 3.
Yeah.
Rittich and Talbot are serviceable guys, but they don't. Neither of them scream light the world on fire, save us, steal a series. It's going to be interesting because the special teams edge kind of goes to the Flames here,
Right.
but I just think 5-on-5, the Jets are the better team.
Grittiness involved. Do you think Calgary might have a little bit better edge defensively, or is that Winnipeg? I mean, because Winnipeg has a defense that they've just transformed throughout the year. I mean, they lost Trouba to the Rangers. You had
Bufflin
Bufflin
gone.
gone.
I don't know.
It's
I have
tough.
no faith in Johnny Gaudreau to steal. Like Johnny Gaudreau is going to have the playoffs of his life in order for them to go through. And I don't have that faith in Johnny Gaudreau that he's going to have that series that's going to, like that is what's going to happen. Johnny Gaudreau is going to have to put this team on his back and actually perform in the playoffs. And I'm not sold that that's going to happen.
Yeah. It's
like, yeah, the defense for look at again, the Jets are another team where I think if they get through, I don't think they're long for this world in the playoffs, but they should beat the Flames.
Yeah. No, they should beat the Flames. I mean, the Jets have good goaltending. They have pretty good offense. Their defense is all right.
Their defense is all right, but it's not the worst defense in the league either. Like they've got guys. They're just it's very by committee. There's there's nothing special on their blue line.
Yeah.
They've got serviceable guys. They've got guys that, if the Minnesota Wild was a defense, they'd be the Jets defense.
Right. They're mild, but it's serviceable. So
right, they've got guys that can be there. It's not going to light the world on fire. I think they're going to need to tighten up, especially going forward.
Right.
But I think that they can, if you can, it's been shown that if you can just, swarm the Flames offense, they have trouble. And I think that they have guys that can, and they've got the forwards that can help out on defense. They've got some really good 200-foot guys on that Jets team, and they can score by committee. They don't need, would it be nice if Patrick Laine, got on going? Because if he gets going, I mean, he's great when he's going. The problem is when he's going.
Right.
But I mean, if they get a guy like Patrick Laine going, that's again, it just further shifts the favor into the Jets. I mean, even if Patrick Laine is not going, they've got guys on the Jets that can score. They've scored a lot of goals by committee. So I don't like the Flames here. Don't like Flames at all. I think the Jets are gonna get through this, and they might do it quicker than 4, but I got them in 4.
Yeah, no, it'll go to. I agree. Jets in 4. Flames can win a game. Can they win a series? I'm just not sure, especially with Talbot and Rittich, like you said. And,
I don't like their goaltending at all.
Yeah.
And look at not getting goals and okay goaltending. Not a great recipe.
Yeah, and it could be a off season that could be have a lot of trade wins come for Calgary if things don't go well for that one. So
it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, definitely for sure be interesting what's going to go down there for sure. In the Western round robin, again, the top 4 teams will play each other team to decide playoff series. It's regular season overtime and shootout. The Blues, Avalanche, Peter DeBoer's Vegas Golden Knights. Like I said, the Avalanche with Long Beach native Matt Nieto and Jonas Donskoy and some Pavelski guy. Apparently, Logan Couture was almost traded there yesterday. Yeah, but Joe Pavelski is confirmed to be the former Shark in Dallas in that one. These 4 teams, who do you think?
I have it. My order is Vegas, Colorado, St. Louis, Dallas. Now, Vegas is a team that I've been high on all year, and they haven't performed as well as I think they can. Like, this roster is better than what they've done. And the big problem is Marc-Andre Fleury has played a lot of hockey, and this break is going to help nobody more than him.
Right.
And if Marc-Andre Fleury falters, they have Robin Leonard to go back to. Like, it's ridiculous. I really think that with the time off and the moves that they made, I think Vegas is a threat this year, and I think that they can coast through this round robin. Colorado's got the firepower. They can go, but Colorado's another team where I wonder, are they a little bit of a glass cannon? I think we're going to find that out in the playoff series. St. Louis, I have in 3rd. Again, you don't want to look too far into these exhibition games that were played because it's one game, it's a one-off, it's just a warm-up, whatever.
Right.
But man, the Blues looked awful in that game, like just beyond awful, beyond rust-like, and
bored.
They did, and obviously, look at Bennington's going to be the guy in net, but But oh man, Jake Allen looked like Jake Allen in that game when they put him in. And then Dallas, I'm not totally enamored by Dallas. But again, Pavelski's a guy you brought in. Maybe he didn't have the season they're hoping to have for the price tag they put him to, but he's a guy who shows up and scores big goals in the playoffs. So he's obviously that's something that they are going to need. But I think when you stack Dallas up against those other four teams, it's not really, it's going to be a tough time for them. So so that's the order I have the minute. But again, it's a round robin 1-game playoff. It favors the upset. So we'll see what happens. But that's what I would, if I had to list it, I go Vegas, Colorado, St. Louis, Dallas.
Yeah. I completely agree on those. Unfortunately, man, it's gonna be tough to see Pierre DeBoer out there, and if the Knights win the whole thing, man, it is. I mean, the intensity and the pressure, perhaps in San Jose, to see PDB win the cup with that team that he helped eliminate last year.
Peter DeBoer makes the cup finals. He doesn't win it. We've established this. He makes the finals. He doesn't.
And this is his this is his first season there, and that's usually the best season, as Gen X would always tell us. It's man.
That team's really good though. I mean, as much as I dislike the Golden Knights, with the fiery passion of a million suns, I hate this team. But you gotta you look at that roster. I mean, if we're gonna be objective, and I try to be as best as I can, they're gonna be one of the teams to beat. They're a team that I expect to go a long way in the playoffs, and I think they should. And I think if they don't, that is, I think that's gonna be. I don't think it's like super panic time for them, but you're getting into that situation where I think if you don't do well this year, it only makes it that much tougher on them next year, because this is a team that is primed to do big things. But you actually have, it's one thing to be primed as Sharks fans. God, we know it's one thing to be primed for big things. You actually have to do big things. And that's, yeah.
And a lot of comments in the chat here. I think Vegas is too good in the West from Arizitas 84. Like a tiger, it's great to be here. Yeah, it's great to be back here. I mean, it's totally fun. Again, we should have never fired him. I don't know. Steve Cropper, ABV, anyone but Vegas. That's for darn sure.
I mean, look, I'm not rooting for Vegas, but I think that, they're definitely, if you ask me, on the spot, who's one of the favorites for a cup this year, Vegas is there. Like, objectively, I can't take that away from them.
Yeah. Colorado looks good too. I kind of like Colorado coming out of the West. Heck, even Edmonton, even though they got to play an extra 3 to 5 games, but sorry, because 2020. Yeah. I hate the Knights, but damn, they're good. And again, AO.
That's what it is.
Don't give the puck to Reeves to the open net. Yeah, but he can get away with shoulders to the head. That's for darn sure. So before we go, because it's been a while, your thoughts on releasing the Kraken?
So I love this. Like, I think Seattle really did everything kind of right. Like the way they went about everything. Like, obviously it took them forever to do it, but I thought, like, when they finally did what they did, and they released the jersey and the name and everything else, like, it was just like, I think it's a slam dunk, because I think if you just released the name and you didn't have the jersey, then maybe you'd be like, what a dumb name. But like, when you look at the sweater, when you look at the I just think it's all great. Like, I love the color scheme. I love the color scheme. I love the logo. Like, it's just, it's nice. Like, I think they did a bang up job, and it was worth the wait. And I don't know, like, there's really not much. I like the color scheme's unique. It's pretty fantastic setup overall.
Yeah, I like the color scheme. They didn't go usual green like everybody usually does in Seattle, Emerald City, and all that stuff.
Well, they said they weren't going to. They said that they were going to save green for the return of the for when they get their basketball team back.
Oh,
so.
Gotcha. But I couldn't help to notice that you could totally do a Sharks logo with the S and a J in there with the I. It just seems a little weird.
You could, but you shouldn't.
You shouldn't, but when you're bored and on vacation and you need to quarantine as much as possible, why not? So, and by the way, to just piss off you a little bit more about Vegas, Vegas doesn't have to play in the expansion draft.
We knew this.
Yee. So
we knew this.
All right.
We knew this going in.
With that, the countdown is on. As of this live recording, 13 hours away from the drop of the puck. So I will put this to you right now. Come late September, middle of September into October, the teams playing in the Stanley Cup final are.
Oh man. Wow. I don't know. It's so hard. It's so hard because you've got one, normally when we do this, we see how teams kind of play going in, right? We don't really have that. So gosh, I'm gonna go with Vegas because Peter DeFore gets there, he doesn't win, and they lose to the Washington Capitals.
All right. Which means Brendan Dillon will get a cup, and the Sharks will get a higher pick. I'm going to say, God, I can't believe I'm going to say this. And it's tough to think because I almost have it as Pittsburgh, but I say it's the Toronto Maple Leafs over the Colorado Avalanche.
Damn.
I think the momentum of Toronto will get in there, and I think Colorado can get hot and they can go crazy, but yeah, I'm gonna go a little crazy and say Toronto over Colorado. I wouldn't be surprised if it's Colorado in there for sure. Toronto's a little bit of a stretch, and like I said, I was close to saying Pittsburgh and Patty.
Yeah, they've got a lot of teams they'd have to get through.
Yeah, but I think maybe that
I like them in their first round. I like them in their qualifying round. I don't. I maybe they. If they win their thing and then no one gets upset. Do they play Boston in the first round and then they're screwed?
Yeah, if everything falls where they may, they could get. And AJ's, my prognostication is exactly the opposite. If I pick something, it's usually the opposite. So with that, I'm gonna change my pick. We're gonna go, we're gonna go Columbus over Edmonton. And yes, Jonas Donskoy with the overtime goal in Game 7. So, but AJ saying
I would not put much money on that one in Vegas.
No, as much money as you would to get the Sharks in the final of this one. So, with that, hockey is right around the corner. Our significant others are about to lose us for 2 summer months. And then we'll have a month and a half off break, which essentially has free agent frenzy and the draft and, a number of jerseys to unveil. So with that, and as I say at Edmonton, AJ saying, and Edmonton just guaranteed Edmonton gets the number 1 pick. Yes.
That's just not fair.
Yeah. No, man. If it's Toronto, Edmonton, or Chicago, or Pittsburgh, they get the number 1 pick. I mean, it's just like...
Oh, if it's like Pittsburgh, I'm going to I quit.
Right? So, with that, we're about to get out of here. It is great to be back with you. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. Follow us on here in case you missed anything or you want to watch this again. Check us out on tealtownusa.com or your favorite podcatcher, wherever podcatchers are at. We are on virtually everywhere. So by all means,
We're gonna do this every round, right?
oh, we're going to do this every round. Heck, we might
Yeah.
even, you
Heck
know
yeah.
what? You know what? We might even do Teal Town After Dark.
Ooh.
Would be fun, right? For the love of God, for the sake of my sanity, on the days I have to be at work
Which
the
team
next
we get a
day.
bandwagon?
Oh, man. Jets?
All right, we'll figure this out. We'll
Yeah.
have a group huddle and figure out which team we're bandwagoning. Maybe we'll do some after darks.
Yes, for sure. So, with that, I'm excited we got hockey back, and it's in August, and the girlfriend's totally going to kill me for the next few months. Sorry. Not sorry. Ian, good to see you again. Glad you're doing all right.
Yeah, good to be here.
Your final thoughts on where the people can find you.
You can find me at Ian Blogs Hockey on the Twitter machine. I'm sure I'll be tweeting up a storm about all this hockey goodness. Other than that, like I said, I'm sure this is not the last you'll see of me while this thing is going on.
Nope, you will not. And I'll be at PuckGuy14 on the Twitter and the Instagram. We appreciate you immensely throughout the thing. We're over 2,040 subscribers. We've done a plethora of interviews during the pause. AJ's done John Scott. I've done the broadcasters Randy Hahn and Dan Ruzanowski. We got a bunch of Terry Smith, the Sharks logo designer. That's a fun one. We have part 2 in coming up very soon. Indeed. So be on the lookout for that. So with that, we'll get out of here. We will see you maybe tomorrow night. We'll see. It might be a little too early for an after dark, but very soon we will, and we might have a sponsor coming up with us. So be on the lookout for that. Tell all your friends. Make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. Check us out. The Chopversation continues on the Discord. And until, and it's great to say this, keep it real, keep it teal, keep it real teal. Have a great night, everyone, and enjoy the playoff hockey.